Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of the country's biggest stars and some of my favourite people. And we've got two for you this morning. We've got Sir Chris and Lady Sarah Hoy. How you doing, guys?
Very well, thank you.
Hello.
Good morning.
Is it nice being more important than most people? I mean, I don't get many sirs and ladies on the shows, especially on a Sunday morning. This is rather nice.
I've never thought about it that way, to be honest.
Obviously, Chris is the most important person in my life, so we'll leave it there.
Good answer.
Do you know what? That is a perfect answer. And I look at the unity you two've got, and I wonder if it's why you're both successful and you're together and you're happy and you appear to have a really lovely life. To find someone who you absolutely trust is rare, isn't it? It doesn't come along every day.
Well, I thank my lucky stars every morning when, yeah, exactly, I'm very lucky.
So do I. I think we do make a good team.
It's interesting, isn't it? And we're on today talking about something which really doesn't have many laughs, but of course it's something that affects so many people. Preterm babies, of course, is what we're on talking about today. Just tell us about why we're talking about it and why it's so important that we are.
Well, today's World Prematurity Day, and the reason we're here talking about it is because our son Callum, our firstborn, was premature. He came out at 29 weeks, 11 weeks early. He weighed 2 pounds 2 ounces. And it was quite a shock. It was a big shock, really. And since then, he's done incredibly well. He's now 5. He's grown and developed, and you know, surpassed everything we expected. And he's at school now and doing great. But since then, Sarah has become an ambassador for Bliss, the premature charity. And today we've teamed up with Pampers and Bliss to try and raise awareness for about premature birth.
Tell me, Sarah, does it give you an extra sort of love for a child when you see them so small and so sort of vulnerable, and then there he is, 5-year-old, running around like any other kid? It's different, isn't it? Because somehow you have that fear that every parent doesn't want, which is he going to make it? That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah, I think prematurity exposes you to a lot of questions and challenges that you wouldn't necessarily be facing every day if your child was healthy and born well and didn't need any medical intervention. So I think it gives you a very different insight into what life could be if, you know, little things changed on the way on that route through your neonatal journey. So it certainly the two of us, Chris and I, talk about Callum's entry into the world and those first few years. We talk about it regularly and think about what was, what could have been, and what is. And we're both, I think, very aware of how lucky we are. Not all babies even come home, so we do know that we've faced challenges, and we've been extremely fortunate. And I think it gives you a passion that drives you on to want to share that story and to help other families that are going through what you recognise and what you know, which is why our involvement with Bliss and the partnership with Pampers, with this very, very special nappy that they've created, is something that's very close to our hearts.
As you say, Pampers are in partnership with Charity Bliss, and today they're pledging to donate hundreds of thousands of specialised nappies to hospitals around the UK to ensure that every premature baby has access to these nappies. And it's such a beautiful thing. I wonder what it's like for you, Chris, when you are powerless. Your wife is in hospital, your baby is premature, and you're the father sort of stood there looking on. How did you cope? Because often the father's forgotten sometimes.
There's not a lot you can do. And it's really tough for both parents. You know, you sit there in the ward and you just sit and stare at this screen with all the figures and the numbers, and you start to know what they all mean. And you know, you listen to the beeps, and these are the things that tell you your child is doing okay. And the two things you get to do throughout the day are, one is to change the nappy, and the second is to have like a very short time where you get to hold your baby against your skin. You do kangaroo care, the skin to skin contact, and that's it. And you know, they sleep for 97% of the time, as opposed to full-term babies that sleep around 75% of the time. So sleep is so important, and that's why when you change the nappies, you're trying not to disrupt them. And we didn't have these tiny nappies when Callum was born. So it is tough. And I guess all you can do, you just try and you look to the doctors and nurses, and you know the wonderful support that they give you and the wonderful work they do for your child. And the hardest part for me was just being told what your child likes. You come in and, oh, he doesn't like this, or he does like that, or he's a bit grumpy at this time of day. And these are the things that you know normally a parent would be telling other people, not learning for the first time from a third party.
And if you can imagine being a first-time parent, having never changed a nappy, which is where Chris and I were coming from, to be directed into an intensive care unit and told to put your hands into this incubator and taught how to change a baby's nappy in amongst wires and leads and machinery that's actually keeping your child alive, trying not to disturb it, and trying to manipulate a nappy around a tiny frail baby. I mean, it's almost comical looking back, but at the time it's incredibly stressful. So I'm sitting here with one of these Pampers nappies. It's literally the size of the palm of my hand. So now that you would be able to do that as a parent with a tiny nappy that is customised to fit your really special miracle of a baby. I just think it's really important for families and also for the babies themselves to have that. I
guess as a parent as well, when if you had a premature baby and you went in and you saw these tiny nappies, you'd kind of go, well, we're not the first to go through this. Clearly it's been thought of, and we're not alone. And the figure 1 in 13 babies in the UK are born prematurely. It's a huge number, really, 60,000 babies a year. So it's far more common than I certainly knew prior to Callum being born, and I guess you get some kind of comfort from knowing that you aren't going through this by yourself.
I think it's just really important to know that there is a support system there. So a nappy exists for your child. That's a huge tick. Charity like Bliss, which is the leading charity in the UK for premature and sick babies, they are there to hold the hands metaphorically and literally of the families in neonatal units going through this. So to know the support is there is one step along the way of this really challenging time for families.
You can find out more by putting in Pampers and Bliss, and all the information will come up there on Google. Let's just talk about your life now. What's it like, Chris, having a 5-year-old and going out on a bike ride together?
It's one of the best things of being a parent, honestly. I think there's something about, I think it doesn't matter whether you've been a professional cyclist yourself or not. I think teaching your children to ride their bikes, it's a magical moment, and there's so many things have changed in the world since we were children, but the one thing that hasn't changed is the joy they get from riding a bike. So it's been a wonderful time, and balance bikes mean that kids can learn even younger now. And like Chloe, our youngest, she's 2, and she's already got a balance bike and sort of wandering around the house on it. And yeah, it is a fantastic thing. But I'm just enjoying the time we've got until he goes faster than me. Once Callum starts going quicker, that's it. I'll stop riding with him. But
the joy on Callum's face, the joy on Chris's face, it's as much spark as the 5-year-old. They both turn into little 5-year-olds going round. It's really nice.
Isn't it magical though that even in 2019, with all the nonsense that goes on, a bike is still as fun to a child as a computer? I love that.
Exactly, and it'll always be that way, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. And your life now together, I mean, it was really on the road, wasn't it, for your whole career, doing this around the world. Is it nice now to be able to know you're going to be here for Christmas and you're going to be together and you are a family and you don't have that pressure of not eating lettuce leaves? You can now eat your sort of roast turkey dinner and enjoy it.
Oh, don't worry. I used to have roast turkey even when I was competing. I used to eat way more when I was competing, to be fair. But yeah, it is lovely, and it just takes the pressure off. And I guess that was one of the biggest reasons we didn't start a family until I'd retired from cycling, because I just I take my hat off to people who are able to combine both, because it must be very, very difficult. But for me, it was really having to focus entirely on one thing to be the best at it.
And is that difficult, Sarah, with the fact that you do come second, and you know that when you're with an Olympian, because it's all consuming?
I don't think it's about coming second. I think watching Chris compete and being part of that was one of the greatest privileges of my life. So to be part of it and watch it, and to see him at home and then on the track as well, it was absolutely incredible, and I just feel very lucky to have been part of it myself. So
Chris, you're an inspiration and you're a class act. Thank you so much for your time. And Lady Sarah, so lovely to talk to you today, and you can find out more about Pampers and Bliss working together with these new nappies. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having us.
Take care.